Hello, a very happy hello, happy Monday for those of you who are joining me live today. I know that for lots of you, it's back to school, you're back from your holidays. I'm just going to turn on my do not disturb because otherwise my devices are going to beep all through this broadcast. Lots of you coming back to school, kids back to school, back to work after the holidays. Hope you had a fabulous summer, and what a great way to kick off your September by attending this live or watching this on the replay. So depending on which research you choose to believe, anywhere between 60 and 90% of us will experience imposter syndrome at some point in our lives. But what is imposter syndrome, and how do you know that you have it? Hello and welcome to the first in a series of live broadcasts on imposter syndrome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Caroline Flanagan, and I am the career coach for lawyers with imposter syndrome who want more recognition, more confidence, better balance, and to be able to, do their day-to-day job as a lawyer with more ease. I like to call that lawyering with more ease. So today then, the first in a series of live broadcasts. I'm going to be sharing my knowledge, my experience, and my insights on imposter syndrome to help you to understand, whether you have it, and if you do, how it is holding you back in your career, and most importantly, what you can do to change that. So here's how these lives are going to work. I'm going to start, basically in each one, I'm going to be answering a specific question, which will be the title of this post. And so I'll start with a short talk to share the experience and knowledge that I have. And then we'll be answering your questions. That's why I'm here, why I'm doing this session live. So while I'm talking, don't hesitate to put your questions in the comments, and they should flash up on the screen for me. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. And if you're watching this on the replay, you can also still add your comments and questions, and I'll do my best to go in and answer these at a later date. So I want to hear all your thoughts. I want to hear whether you agree with me, whether you've had any experience of what I'm talking about, or even if you disagree with me. This is what these conversations are about. I want to hear all of the things that are coming up for you. I have a note here that, yes, about captions. So I'll do my best to toggle captions on this video. If you're not seeing them, then I think you can literally click on your settings on whichever platform you are watching this on, and you should be able to toggle on captions. If you have any problems with that and you're not seeing captions, then do let me know again in the comments, and I'm going to do my best to fix that. So today's live, we're going to be answering the question, what is imposter syndrome, and how do you know that you have it? Now, if you suspect that imposter syndrome may be holding you back in your career, you want to stay tuned to this broadcast. But even if you don't suspect that it's holding you back, I want to encourage you to watch this live and the upcoming lives anyway, because there may be some insights, there may be a way in which I explain imposter syndrome that actually you recognize. You may not have heard it described in that way before. So it could be that you have imposter syndrome, or you have experiences of imposter syndrome that are holding you back and you didn't realize. So you really can learn so much from staying tuned. And if nothing else, it could be that you know somebody who has imposter syndrome, or you work with them, in which case, what a great thing to be able to reference them to this live recording, this live broadcast. Now, what I'm going to share with you today about imposter syndrome is I want to make it, actually bear it down to the most simple, the simplest, clearest form. I know there's a lot of conversation around imposter syndrome at the moment, lots of questions about it, there's some nervousness even about being kind of labeled perhaps of having imposter syndrome. And there's quite a lot of uncertainty, that's what I want to say. Often it is confused with what I call sort of ordinary self-doubt, and it gets lost in some of the narrative. I'm going to change all of that today. So I'm going to give you real clarity about an important subject. And this is information you can take away and really think about as you go through your day, and maybe start to observe what's going on for you as you tackle your work to see if imposter syndrome is coming up for you. So what is imposter syndrome and how do you know if you have it? So the term imposter syndrome was first coined in 1978 when two American psychologists, Dr. Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, they noticed a curious phenomenon in some of their clinical patients. They felt like frauds. They said they felt that their success was down to luck, and they had this ongoing fear, this horrible feeling that any minute now they might be exposed as the sort of frauds that shouldn't be there. So they, Clance and I'm super curious about this and seeing this repeated in a number of their high performing clinical patients. They actually coined this phrase, the imposter phenomenon. And it soon thereafter became known as imposter syndrome, which is the phrase, the expression we're all so familiar with today. So how do you know you have it? I like to boil it down to three very simple, very clear words: fraud, luck, and exposed. So if you're thinking about, okay, what's imposter syndrome? How do I know I have it? This is where I want you to start. If you feel like a fraud, if it feels like, or you get a sense, or you're acting like your success is down to luck, that's the feeling you have. And the third element is this fear, this feeling that you might be exposed at any moment. I always know for me, it was such a feeling that not only that my success was down to luck, but actually that luck was going to run out at any minute, and I'd be exposed and it would all kind of blow up around me. Now, one of the things I've really noticed is when I talk about those three words, fraud, luck, and exposed, it's really clear in the definition of imposter syndrome, there's quite a lot of resistance from a number of you. And I understand why. Here's what I hear. I hear you saying, I'm not a fraud. I know I'm not a fraud. I hear you saying, my success was not down to luck. I worked so hard to be here. I deserve to be here. And I hear you saying, oh, it's not like I think I'm going to be like exposed like tomorrow and then I'm going to lose my job or anything like that. So I hear these responses to this description of imposter syndrome as being about being like a fraud and success down to luck and the fear of being exposed. But here's what I want to explain to you. There's a really subtle but very important point that needs to be understood about imposter syndrome. It's not about how you truthfully think about yourself. What I mean by that is imposter syndrome isn't a thought you have about yourself. It's a feeling that you experience. So it's not you going around genuinely thinking you haven't worked hard enough to be where you are. It's about you feeling on edge, feeling your success was down to luck and it might run out, feeling that you might be exposed, feeling like a fraud. So that distinction I want to really drum sort of home to you today. There's a difference between genuinely, honestly thinking that you are something and then how you actually feel when you're in certain environments that may be demanding or competitive or high pressure. Now, as I said at the beginning, I work with lawyers, and all of you lawyers, you work in a competitive, high pressure, demanding profession. So really, your experience of imposter syndrome is all about how you feel when you go into the office, how you feel when you're given a new project or a deadline or a stretch assignment, how you feel when you're sitting in a meeting and you know you need to speak up, you know you've got something to say often, but you can't bring yourself to say it. It's not because in that moment you think your success is down to luck. It's because in that moment you are feeling, you're having the emotions of feeling that you don't belong there, feeling that somehow you're a fraud and you might be exposed. Okay, so thinking is one thing, but feeling is entirely another. And this for me really blew up like the confusion around imposter syndrome. It made it so much clearer and easier to identify. So as you go throughout your day to day, I want to encourage you to ask yourself, not what am I thinking in this moment, but what am I feeling? Okay, and also to recognize that it's that feeling that is driving the way you show up to work and how you perform at work. And of course, that's why in Imposter Syndrome Coaching for Lawyers, my coaching program, that's exactly like a key part of the work that we do together is about being able to identify those feelings within yourself when you're having those feelings and how they are then impacting your work and how you show up. Now, fraud, luck, exposed. Those words may, especially now that I've described it as a feeling, may really resonate with you immediately. I remember the first time I read about imposter syndrome and I came across those words. I was reading a book called Unstoppable People by Andrew Gilpin. I think it's out of print now. But I read a description of imposter syndrome and I could not believe it. I felt as if the writer, when you read one of those books and it feels as though the writer is staring into your soul and literally writing exactly about you, I finally felt seen and understood. Now, this is a really important moment. So if that's you, if hearing those words, especially if you're hearing it explained in this way for the first time, if that really touches something in you, touches a nerve, I guess, then I want to recognize you and I want you to know you're not alone. And not only are you not alone, this is something I can help you with, particularly only if you're a lawyer, but this is something that I help with. Now, either way, if you haven't already, and this does resonate with you, make sure you sign up to my free masterclass. It's happening next Monday, the 12th of September at 6 p.m. UK time. So if you haven't signed up to that already, make sure you register. It's completely free, but you have to register to attend. Just go to carolineflanagan.com and you will most likely see a pop-up that will take you there. Or either way, I will put a link in the comments below where you can link directly to the registration page. So yes, if this is resonating with you, make sure you make time for that free masterclass on Monday, the 12th of September, because I'm going to get all stuck into all of this and what you need to do to stop imposter syndrome holding you back in your career. Okay, so we've talked about what imposter syndrome is and the 3 key words that will give you a sense of being able to understand how this is how you know that you have it. Now, I want to caveat that or add something extra, which is the 3 words I've described, which talk to how you feel, are just one particular way of knowing that you have imposter syndrome, but they are not the only ones. If those 3 words don't resonate with you, sure, it might mean you don't suffer from imposter syndrome, but there are other signs that you may have imposter syndrome, which you may not be aware of. And these signs aren't so often talked about. The feeling like a fraud, thinking your success is down to luck, having this fear of being exposed or feeling that any minute now you might be exposed, they are quite often talked about. You may have heard of those, that description. And that's why I call those signs the classic signs, the 3 classic signs. They're also the ones, of course, that were identified originally by Doctors Clance and Imes back in 1978. So they're really the classic signs. However, there are other signs. Remember I talked about those 3 signs being about how you feel. There are also signs of imposter syndrome in how you act. And I'm going to be talking about these other actions, these what I call secret signs of imposter syndrome on a live call tomorrow. So that's going to be Tuesday, the 6th of September. It's 2022 at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So make sure you put a note in your calendar to tune in to whatever your favorite platform is. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on the Facebook page, so Caroline Flanagan Facebook page, and also, of course, on YouTube. So whichever one of those you prefer to watch your live broadcasts on, I will be live tomorrow or at Tuesday at 9 a.m. UK time. And I'll be talking about the secret signs of imposter syndrome, which may well apply to you and may reveal that you do in fact suffer from imposter syndrome, or it certainly is holding you back in your career. So that's it for today. I don't see any comments coming up right now, but as I said, any comments you have going forward, drop them down below. Let me know what you thought about this live. Let me know if you have a specific question about imposter syndrome that you'd like me to tackle in this live series. Thank you so much for your time, for your attention. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the live tomorrow. Bye for now.